welcome to Landscape Photography World, the podcast for everyone passionate about landscape photography. I'm Grant Swinburne and I'll be your host on this show, talking to landscape photographers about their motivations, likes and dislikes. Oat Vaiyaboon, also known as Hanging Pixels, was born in Bangkok, Thailand and moved to Sydney at 14 to pursue his education. After completing his studies in architecture, Oat worked as a draftsman for a decade, adding his creative touch to the Sydney skyline. His passion for photography, which began in high school, was reignited when he pursued a master's degree in design, photography and digital media. Oat's journey from film photography to the darkroom to mastering digital techniques is a testament to his dedication to the craft. His photography is deeply influenced by his background in architecture, giving him a unique perspective on landscapes and natural light. He ventured from Sydney to the southwest Victoria, capturing stunning images of the Grampians, Gradation Road and other natural wonders. His recent move to the Blue Mountains promises new subject matter for his lens. Oat is also a licensed drone operator, using this technology to capture breathtaking aerial shots. He shares his work and passion for photography on social media, finding it therapeutic and a way to connect with nature. Whether alone or with family and friends, Oat seizes every opportunity to photograph the landscapes around him. In this episode, we discuss how he balances his photography career with managing a Thai restaurant, the importance of on-site shot perfection, and his editing process. We also touch on the impact of smartphone photography, the value of printed images, and the supportive nature of Melbourne's photography community compared to Sydney's. I hope you enjoy the show. Right, Oat. Welcome to Landscape Photography World. How are you going?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, absolute pleasure. You've been on my list for a long time, actually, and finally gotten around to getting you. A lot of people will know your handle on Instagram, Hanging Pixels, but they might not know who you are, and this is what this is all about, is to try and get to the photographers behind the Instagram handles and the profiles and whatever and find out who you are and how you think. So let's start with who you are.
Okay, my name is Oat and I've been doing photography for since high school, really. So at least 25 or closer to 30.
Yep.
So a while. But yeah, I only just got into the digital side of things maybe when the digital came out, still a long time ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, I started with film and I fell in love with it then.
Yeah.
And yeah, progress from there.
So in terms of high school, was it a subject you did in high school? Was it something that you caught your imagination back then, or did it come afterwards?
No, I think it was back then because it's actually as a major art project that I did in year 12, it was photography. So yeah, it started then with going into the dark room and having to manipulate the photos yourself and that sort of thing, developing your own pictures. Yeah, it started from then, and then obviously it took a back burner for a little bit because I actually graduated as an architect. So I studied for a little bit, but I think architecture helps with photography quite a bit, actually, I think, in terms of lighting and composition and that sort of stuff. And it's progress from there. And yeah, I just started with, I do different stuff as well. I do a lot of food photography as well. Okay. But I don't put that on my Instagram because my Instagram is basically just for landscape. But I do food for a lot of Thai restaurant in Sydney for their menus and that sort of thing. And back when I was doing architecture, I did a lot of architecture stuff. Yeah. And when I was doing architecture, I actually doing a lot of 3D stuff. So I used that photos for photo manipulation and using it as a background for the 3D buildings to go in, that sort of thing. Yeah. So it's a lot of digital media related.
So what is it about landscape photography that caught your imagination and got you going?
I think it's the freedom of being able to go out and just more relaxing. You just go there and wait for something to happen. Basically, you're waiting for the cloud to come in, you're waiting for the aurora to come up, or you're waiting for the bright wave to hit the rock. So I think it's the relaxing part of it. And also a lot of the time is meeting new people as well. Sometimes you just don't know who you're going to meet. One of my best friends is actually someone who back then, it's he sent me a message and go, oh, okay, can we meet up at this beach in Sydney at 4:30 in the morning? And you wouldn't think too much about that, but you go, yeah, okay, sure, we'll meet you. And then, so we've been friends ever since. It's just one of those things. But then, it's meeting people, and I think the relaxing part and the creative side, which is it's as my name suggests, like it's hanging pics with photo art. So you do whatever you want with the photo.
Yeah.
I'm not one of those journalism where everything has to be exact, everything has to be as it was captured. So I get the pictures and I interpret that the way I want it to come out and the way I remember the scene. So not necessarily what it was exactly, but what I think it was. Like obviously the camera can't capture what, so you have to, at the end of the session, you have to nudge it a little bit and pushing it in the right direction. That's what I think. Yeah.
Okay. So I guess a lot of people are all about that, getting it all right in camera and everything is not your style. And I'm totally about that. If you want to do composites and all the rest of that sort of thing, totally fine. I'm not a get it right in camera sort of guy.
I always tell people that, like when I do workshop and that sort of thing, when I teach people, I said, you can't polish a turd. So you have to get it right as much as you can in the camera. If you can't just have a bad picture and try to polish that, because it's going to take you longer to do it. So you might as well try to get it right. So I try as much as I can. Like I use filters and that sort of thing just to bring the exposure closer together for landscape. And I spend ages on site, like just try to get the right shot, and then that's it. And then I come back and then I try to make it look a little bit better. But yeah, I still think that you have to try to get it right. But if there's a piece of rubbish there, I go, okay, I'm going to pick it up. If I can't pick it up, I'm going to just take it out in Photoshop later. It's going to be easier for me. So I think it comes down to what is it going to be easier to do. If it's going to take me longer in Photoshop to do, then I'm not going to do it. I'll just go and move it. If it's just going to go, okay, 5-second brush stroke, then I would do that.
Yeah, fair enough. So it sounds like the artistic side of things has always been a big part of what you do, as opposed to, as you said, a lot of people start out documenting their trips to the beach or trips to the forests and so forth. It sounds like you've always had that artistic.
I think it's probably start from day one, because when I try to capture the picture, I don't want to capture a picture that everyone can capture. I want to capture something that's different, like either that maybe a longer exposure, so you get a wave running a little bit, so there's a movement in the picture. It's not like you're capturing with your phone, or back then anyway. Now your phone can do amazing stuff, but back then you take a picture and that's it. That's a picture. But I want something a little bit different, like something with movement, something with colors. Yeah, just something that you don't normally see. Yeah, I think it's always had that artistic connotation to it. I think with because I started with all the tidal pools in like North Sydney and all the northern beaches and stuff. That I just flicked through a magazine. I think that's how it started. I flicked through a magazine. I go, wow, that looks really good. I want to be able to capture something like that, like with the overflowing, all the pools. And I think, going back to high school finish, and I stopped for a little bit, starting to go to uni, and I didn't pick up the camera until a little bit later. Yeah. And I saw those pictures and I was like, I don't even know who it was from. Like I just saw it in a magazine. I go, I'm going to go and try to do that. And then, that's when I got the camera and I basically go out, and I was back then, no kids, just by yourself. You go out a lot. I go out pretty much every weekend on Saturday, Sunday morning, just go to the beach somewhere and then just try to capture that. But like the long exposure of the water flowing, it's different to a static shot with everything you can see. So I think I always wanted that.
Yeah, cool. Are you someone who's a planner, or are you more into just instinctively going out when you feel like it and just going with the flow?
I think it's a bit of both. Like sometimes I don't really tend to plan things very much in advance, because you never know. Like you don't know what the weather's going to do. Like landscape photography is all dependent. Yeah. So you don't know what it's going to do. You can read it. You can try to plan it maybe 5 days in advance, but then it's going to change when you're actually going to go out. Yeah. So I think my approach lately would be, if I have free time, if I'm like now, because I'm actually running a restaurant.
Okay.
Yeah. So
we can get into that in a little bit.
Yeah, sure. And with kids and stuff, it's just hard to find time to actually plan and go. So I would just, if the weather is right and because fortunately I live somewhere where I can see the night sky quite clear. So if I finish work and I go, the sky, it's nice and the moon hasn't come up, so I'm going to just grab a camera and go. But in terms of going somewhere special, like for instance, that shot that I got from Threadbow, it was planned because in a sense, but it was not, because like I talked to the lady at Threadbow and she was going to get me, I did the sunrise that morning, and then she was going to get me to do a sort of, they were going to run a night tour for photography sort of thing, but that was cancelled. So I was like, okay, I think I should go up there sometime this particular week. And I told her that, and then someone on my Facebook messaged me and said, there's going to be a big aurora that's happening. Oh shit, I better get my act together then. So I messaged her back and I go, tonight is the night. There's no moon, there's clear, there's no wind, and if you can get me up to the top, it's going to happen. So she quickly do that, and then she okay, you can go up with the groomers she actually said 4:00. So I have to be up on the mountain from 4 to midnight, and that's a long time. So I was like, So I was thinking, umming and ahhing about it, because I've been to the snow for the last 20 years. So I know that sometimes it can get cold, sometimes it's okay, but I just don't want to be up there for 6-7 hours, just being in the dark by myself and just sitting there. So I was, and then when I actually got in touch with the groomers, they were like, you don't have to be up there at 4, you can go up there at 8:00. We'll come down, pick you up at 8. I was like, that's better. So 4 hours on the hill is better than 6 hours.
Absolutely.
So that's it. So we organized it within half a day. So it was like, it wasn't planned. It planned up to a point, but then you don't know what's going to happen. And then I was like, okay, let's make it happen. And then we'll go.
Yeah. I want to talk a bit about where photography sits in your life. You mentioned that you're running a restaurant.
Yeah.
It's a part-time thing, but you also make some money out of it. Is that how it works? It's obviously not a full-time business, because you can't run a restaurant and run a full-time photography.
You can't. It used to be. It used to be, because it started back when I was doing architecture. So when I was doing architecture, I subcontract doing photos for them, for the company that I'm working for. So that started then. And then at that period, I would just be working during the day. And then on the weekend I have free, so I can do, because I was doing more sort of not portrait, I would say, because I like using flash. I like using the light. So I started with portrait for a little bit. And then when I moved down to, because we were from Sydney, and then we moved down to Victoria for about 10 years.
Yeah, okay.
Running a restaurant there too, because at the time I wasn't working. So my dad was like, okay, because he's got a few restaurants down southwest Victoria, near the Great Ocean Road, Warrnambool, Hamilton, and that sort of thing. So he said, why don't you come down, have a look? You're not doing anything. Come down, and there's a town called Port Fairy, which is where we settle. It doesn't have a Thai restaurant. So me and my wife now went down and look at it and go, it is. Looks like a cool place. Looks like a good place. So we set up a restaurant there. And so the first few years it was hard because we were just working in the restaurant. But then the later part, we got help with other staff and that sort of thing. So they were able to run the restaurant, and I can concentrate on more of the photography, running up and that sort of stuff. But in all that time, I'm still flying up to Sydney to do the restaurant, to do photos for the restaurant and food and that sort of thing. So it wasn't a full-time as such, but back then I can spend more time on it. But now that I'm back in Sydney, I can't find staff to do the cooking for me. So I'm actually the one that's doing the cooking. So the photography side is when I get time, I'll go and do it. Or if there's because I work for there's a designer, designer who, like, sometimes if she needs food photos and that sort of thing, she'll go, okay, can you spend a day, this particular day, to go and come and do a restaurant shoot for me? And I would go, okay, if it's Monday or Tuesday, we close at the restaurant, so I can go and do that. So that, in a sense, it's planned, and we'll book a date and we'll go. And so when I don't have the restaurant on Monday and Tuesday, sometimes I'll go and do that. And most of the time, it would just be me running around in here doing stuff for the restaurant anyway. So it doesn't have a lot. And that's why I like night photography, because the restaurant's finished, I can just go out and do it. Okay. Just in the front yard. So it's easy for me. Yeah.
Cool. So you're not up first thing in the morning down the markets buying all the food and everything, or?
I know we get them like we work late and getting up it's just hard. So we do get our fresh produce from there's a few local farms around here. And the eggs we get it from like there's a lady maybe 5 doors down that way.
Yep.
And it's such a small sort of egg farm, free range, that sort of thing, and we get eggs from her. And and what we can't get, we get the supplier to come and drop it off. I just don't have to go to the market. But one of my staff we get them delivered, or if we run out of something, one of my staff will go to the local groceries farmers that we have here, and she will just go and get what we need.
So it sounds like trying to balance the restaurant and photography is a bit of a challenge. How do you go about doing that? It's just about saying, okay, this is the time that I've got, off I go?
Pretty much. Well, the restaurant is the main priority.
Yeah.
It's the hours are quite set in a sense, because like during the day I've got a staff that comes in and do the prep work and that sort of stuff. So I really need to be there from 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon until we close, which is the 9, 10, whatever. Because I'm the head chef, so I'm actually in there doing the cooking and doing a bit of prepping. Because we run the restaurant, we do all the fresh veggies and that sort of stuff, and then we cut it and we put that aside. We don't we cook to order, so we cook at night. So it's not like Italian or Indian.
Where you're cooking for hours beforehand. Yeah.
So we don't do that. We're just doing the prep work, chopping the veggies, getting the meat and stuff, and then we do all the cooking on the spot at night. So I just have to be there. But during the day, I usually busy with kids and stuff. But sometimes I'll go, okay, someone wants to go and take photo, maybe I'll tag along with them. But that doesn't happen that often. Maybe I'm going to say once every 2 months or something like that.
Yeah, sure.
When I get to go, or if someone say, there's a few people that sometimes they want to do the workshop with me for Astro and that sort of thing. So I basically tell them I can only do Monday and Tuesday. If you're free, we'll come and do it on Monday and Tuesday night. And then I can teach you how to do it. On the weekend, you can come, but I won't be going out there with you until 11 o'clock at night, because I won't finish here until then. So it's not too bad. I think I'm just used to it now, that I know that I have to be here to do that. And then whatever free time I get, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I just tell Mandy that I'm going to go and chase a waterfall on a certain day, then I will tell her, and then I might get to go, I might not. It depends on the kids. Sometimes the kids always seem to get sick on the day that you're planning something.
Of course, yeah.
And then that doesn't happen, and then I just get pushed back and stuff. But so I think if someone's trying to organize something, I try to make that happen.
Yeah. But
other times I would just be winging it. If weather's good, then I might go. If something's happening, I might go. But I'm lucky that way that I think during the day I'm able to sneak out and do that if I need to. If there's a snow in the Blue Mountains and I know it's going to happen, I just tell her that I'm going to go for a drive today and see what I can get.
I'm interested in what you were saying before about trying to create something unique. How do you do that and infuse those images with your personal style, and how do you stay motivated? Do you experiment with new ideas and techniques in what you're doing, and how do you incorporate that process of thinking about, this is the shot that I want, setting it up for a shot, taking it, bringing it back and processing it? Are you thinking about the processing at the end while you're taking the shot, or are you thinking, okay, I've taken this shot, this is what I've got to work with?
I'm just trying to think. It's a bit of both. Sometimes because I like architecture and I like buildings and I like old churches and that sort of thing. So if I'm going to do a Milky Way, I most likely pick the foreground first and say, I've got my Google map on my phone just dotted everywhere of where I want to go. Mostly buildings or trees or like old farmhouse and that sort of stuff. So I usually have an idea of what I want, and sometimes I will a lot of the time, if that's what I want, I will plan it with the Milky Way. I have an app that I can choose the time of the year or when it's going to be in that particular position. And then I'll try to go there. But like I said, it doesn't usually happen. So a lot of the time I'd be spending a bit of time on site when I get to a location, looking around, try to take as many compositions as I can, providing that I already, how would I say it? I have two settings on my camera. I have one that's really quick for astro, like 2-second exposure, and one is 30 seconds. So I would just go set my camera up, do this 2-second exposure. No, that doesn't look good. And I keep going until I find the right composition. And then I change the setting to the 30 second. And I keep doing that until I get all the information that I need, and then move on and do the 2 seconds. So when I come, it will be a lot of the 2-second shot that I just delete straight away, because most of the time it's pitch black. So I would just go and see what looks right. Is the building looking right? Is the tree looking right? And is the Milky Way the position I want it to be? But it's a bit of both, to answer your question. Sometimes I plan it. Sometimes I just go and walk around. Like on the mountains, I went there that morning. I have a rough idea of what it's in the vicinity, but when you actually get there at night, it's totally different. So you just got to take the shot and then see what you get. Yeah.
How do you define success in your photography?
I'm not sure. I don't know. I think if you can get your work published, that's probably, you can probably say that you're okay. Or if you're doing competition and you're winning some competition, I think you can probably say that you're okay. But at the same time, I don't really see myself as a professional. There's a lot of people that come up and go, "Oh, I'm doing workshop with you because you're a pro," or "Your pictures got so many, you got so much followers, you're a pro." But I don't see myself, because I'm not. Pro is someone who has to be working full time in photography, and I'm not. So I'm not calling myself a pro, and I'm just doing what I can when I can. So yeah, I think, but success, I would say, if someone like your work enough that they're buying your work from you, I think that's probably the best thing that you can get.
Definitely.
Someone go, "Okay, I print from you. That's it." I think you're pretty good then if someone's doing. Yeah.
Fair enough. What's your favourite place to shoot? Is there somewhere that you keep going to because it's just got unfinished, you've got unfinished business with it, or is there a place where you go, "Okay, I haven't really nailed what I want"?
Yes and no, but when I was living in Port Fairy, which is in, I don't know, Port Fairy.
Yeah, I know it. Yep.
Yeah. So it's quite pretty. It's a lovely coastal town, and it's got a lighthouse, and it's an hour from 45 minutes an hour to the 12 Apostles. So I think that's probably my favorite place, because I can just go there without having to fly or drive for hours to get. Right. And with the lighthouse, I know that every time you go out, it's always going to be different. The Milky Way is not going to be in the same spot, and if it is, you do something different. I think for me, it's just where I can get to. There's certain things that I want. I still want to go to the snowy mountain to try to get one of those big old grand snow gum in the foreground with snow falling and a bit of fog and that sort of stuff. Yeah. I want to do that. Like, that would be the shot that I want to get. Like, there's places that you want to go, like the Kimberleys and that sort of stuff. Sure, you want to go to like Uluru. I want to go there. I haven't been. So there's certain places that you want to go, but getting there it's a different story. Yeah. But for me back then I'm now in Kurrajong, there's not much here. I can go to the Three Sisters at the Blue Mountains, but I don't think it's the same as the 12 Apostles in terms of grand.
Yeah, the impact's not quite.
Yeah.
And I know what you mean about when you go to the coast, the sea is always different. The sky is quite different all the time. The trouble with the Blue Mountains, shooting the Three Sisters, for example, there's only a few vantage points that you can get.
That's right.
And, unless you're flying a drone around there, which you shouldn't be doing. But
yeah, that's right.
But you're also looking at, okay, the sky might change and you might get a cloud inversion or whatever, but by and large, that valley has looked that way for millions of years. Yes. And it's not going to change a great deal unless there's a massive landslide or one of the Three Sisters falls over.
Yeah, that's right. I think like with the 12 Apostles, I do go back there time and time again, because I think there was a shot that I wanted to get. I think it was early in the morning with the fog sort of rolling down the cliff face. Yeah. So like I wanted to get that for a long time, and then I got it, so I don't need to go back again. And also there was when heavy rainfall comes, there's actually waterfalls that come out from the cliff into the ocean only after heavy rainfall. So I wanted to get that shot too. And then because I live so close and I know that there's going to be a lot of rain, I'm going to go I jump in the car and I go and wait for it. And it did happen. So those are the two things that I wanted to get, and I got it because I know the spot and I can go back there. I think, yes, there are certain places, like I said, the lighthouse in Port Fairy, I just go back there all the time. If I have a bit of time and the sky is clear, I'm just going to go out.
Yeah. If you could retire at one of the places you've shot, which would it be?
I don't know, actually. It depends on a lot of factors. I don't think I'll go and live in Port Fairy again because it's too freaking cold.
Fair enough.
I moved here and I was like, I can count the days that I wear shorts and thongs in Port Fairy. 1 or 2 days. It's just so cold. I don't know how I put up with it for 10 years.
And Southern Ocean winds and there's nothing blocking it between you and Antarctica, is it?
Yeah, straight up. And then that's it. Yeah, but I think probably near the snow. I like the snow. But yeah, I would probably go somewhere near the snow. My wife loved the snow too. So yeah, somewhere around. But she also liked the ocean. So it depends. I think, yeah, we probably won't go back to Port Fairy. It's a really nice town, but it's just too cold. Yeah, so I think it's hard because where we are now in Kurrajong, it's quite nice too. Like I know I don't want to be in the city. Like every time I drive into the city, like how does people live? Like it's the house next to each other, and I just can't. We're just leasing at the moment, but we are on I think 12 acres.
Nice. Yeah.
And I can't even see my neighbors when I look outside. And driving here, it's all trees and all bush. It looks almost, I wouldn't call it, a lot of people call it country, but I won't call it a country because it's not. It's only just across the river. So yeah, but I think I don't want to be in the city. I know that. I'd probably go somewhere closer to the snow or closer to the beach. But here it's quite good as well, close to the mountain. But I can't complain, to be honest. Yeah.
What's your most memorable photography experience?
I'm going to have to say that when I went up there with the groomers up 2 weeks ago up there, it's pretty special because you don't know what you're going to get. And there's a lot of factor that's involved. Everything's aligned to be able to get me up there and to be able to capture the aurora with the snow. It's probably something that I won't forget anytime soon. I think that's pretty close to every time like I said, the waterfall at the 12 Apostles, the fog at the 12 Apostles, they're all great because that's the shot that I want. And when it actually happened, you go, oh shit, it did happen and it looks amazing. But I think the snow with the groom is different again because I didn't know. Like firstly, I've been trying to capture aurora since I moved down to Port Fairy for the last 10, 15 years. And I did get, every time there's a prediction, I'll go out and I see this glow at the horizon, and it's great. But I think this year, the activity has been super, super high. The amount of glow that we get is phenomenal. And I never thought that I would be able to capture something in New South Wales.
No, normally you just don't see it.
No, yeah, that's right. I just didn't think it was possible. Yeah. So I got up there and I took the first shot and it was really bright red when I took the first shot. And I was like, it wasn't meant to hit when I got up there, it meant to hit an hour. So when I got there and I actually got the shot, I was like, oh shit, this is awesome. And it's just hard to beat because I don't know, I like to be up on the mountain it's one thing. To be up and it's really quiet, no wind, and just you by yourself looking at and obviously the stars with the night sky there, it's just amazing. I just can't. That was probably one of the best ones. There's other times that I've seen something that I can't explain, so I don't know. Awesome.
What about horror stories? Have you had any dramas while you're out?
I got this one time actually. Not this actually because there's a Sydney group for Sydney astrophotographers, part of that, but a Facebook group, and I think probably a few months back now. Not quite a horror story, but this is one that I find it a bit weird because there was someone screenshot a post that was posted up earlier saying that is anyone going out to do a shoot around the area? I would like, just nighttime stuff. I would like, doesn't want to tag along. And the person that wanted to tag along was the guy that went and stabbed people at Bondi.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was the same dude. So it was crazy because I do meet people out of the blue and saying, I want to come and shoot with you. And I go, most of the time, I just look at them and go, okay, yeah, that's fine. Just come. But yeah, it was just one of those that this is the same guy that went and stabbed people, and he wanted to come out to do a shoot with, And I was like, okay, I don't think anyone accepted his offer, but yeah.
Probably lucky.
Yeah, exactly. That was one time, and there was another time when I was out alone in Port Fairy shooting at the Aurora at night. I think I started about midnight, and this is a spot where it's not near any houses. You have to walk for at least 10, 15 minutes to get to this spot, and it's a low lookout into the ocean and to the Southern Ocean. So I was setting up three cameras, I think, doing time lapse and shooting, and I didn't pay attention to the time that much, so I just kept shooting. And then probably about 2-something in the morning, a voice behind me, and it was like, "How's it going?" I was like, "Who the hell would come out here at 2:00 in the morning if you're not a photographer?" And so I turned around, and I was like, my hand was grabbing the tripod. So I was ready to go, either smack him or run away. I don't know. But yeah, so I turned around, and it was a guy walking up to me and I said, good, yourself. And he's like, yeah, good. And I was like, what are you doing here? He's like, I can't sleep, so I'm just going for a walk. But it's not a spot where you're just going to go for a walk. Yeah, you're either, I don't know. But Port Fairy is quite safe. So it's a country town, it's quite safe. So I'm not scared in that sort of sense. But anyway, so I was talking to this guy and nothing happened. I was talking to him for a while. But the funny thing was that morning in the car when I was driving my son, he was maybe five back then.
Yeah.
We were driving with him and he was like, I want to see Jack. He just out of the blue. We don't know anyone named Jack. I want to see Jack. And I was like, me and my wife just look, Mandy, and just look at him and go, who the hell is this Jack? And he was like, no, I want to see Jack. And I was like, okay. And didn't think too much about it until we forgot about it until, and that night. And then I saw this guy and then I was just talking to him, didn't think too much about that either. Talking, and he was showing me his phone. So I asked him, what are you doing here? And he said, I'm getting my bike fixed. I had a crash in my bike. And I was like, okay. And he was showing me his bike on his phone, like flicking through it. His phone was all broken. He was flicking through it, a picture of the bike. And he's like, I live in Ballarat, which is 3 hours away from Port Fairy. And I'm getting my bike fixed here. I was like, why are you fixing your bike in a smaller town? And then, flicking through. And then I look at my watch and I was like, okay, it's 3:00, witching hours. 3:00. And I was like, I better go home. I've been out here for a while. So I told him, I'm going to pack up. I'm going to start heading back home. So I start packing and stuff. And I turn around, I shook his hand and I said, my name's Oat. And guess what his name was?
Jack.
Yep. I crap myself. And this is a true story. Like I was like, shook his hand. I was like, okay. And I just walked. And I walked. Didn't even look back.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
I was like, and that was just weird because I don't know if he was a ghost. I don't know. I can see his phone. I can talk to him. I touched him. I shook his hand. So I don't know. It's just one of those weird things that it just happened. Yeah. It hasn't repeated since. But there's a story for you. I think I posted up online somewhere. I have to go and find this. But it was just weird. But other than that, there's no other sort of horror, physical harm or anything like that.
Nice.
I haven't got any of those. Yeah.
Do you prefer photographing alone or with other people?
I think with other people. I think it's selected people because people that know what they're doing and in the same level and not going to get in your way. So if you go with someone, they stay in their spot, I'll stay in my spot, and then you swap whenever the time's right. Yeah. But I don't, because I do a lot of nighttime stuff. So I don't really like being out alone. There's nothing.
After the experience with Jack, I don't blame you.
It's not. Sometimes I would go. I don't get scared. Like I can go for a walk in the cemetery at night. It's a bit spooky, but I'm not gonna. I don't see things, so I don't mind as much. But I think to go with someone, it's just a safety thing. I think if I trip and knock my head, they can go and call an ambulance for me or whatever. There's more of that. I'm not one of those photographers that go, this is my spot. This is my secret spot. And no one needs, I'm not going to tell anyone this is my spot. And it's not that. If you want to go to the same spot, go ahead. If you can do better than I can, I want to see it. Come along. I don't mind at all. Yeah. So I usually, if I get a chance, I probably prefer to go with someone. If I go to an outing like snow chasing or canola field chasing, I'll go with someone so that it's just someone to talk to in the car, you know what I mean? Not sitting there alone and being bored and sleepy. So,
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, so I usually try to go with someone. And I think my Mandy's probably feel safer as well that I'm actually with someone rather than alone. So yeah, she was packing it a bit when I told her I'm going to go and stand at 2,000 meters up by myself, alone in the, trying not to fall off a cliff. But yeah, I think she would prefer me to go with someone, and I think me myself as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I always, if I'm going out on my own, I always let the wife know at least which beach I'm at, so that if she needs to send the police rescue mob out, they know where to look. Yeah. What have you learned about the world through photography?
There's a lot of beauty in everyday life. It doesn't have to be this gigantic rocky outcrop somewhere. It's nice to get to Patagonia and whatnot, but I think you can find beauty in almost anything, even in macro and that sort of stuff. And I think patience is what I've learned from that, because especially with landscape, anything to do with photography, like for me to do food, I need to set up the light. And I could easily spend half an hour, 45 minutes just moving the light around, trying to get it right. And when you got it, it's that satisfaction that, okay, shit, this does look good. And the same with landscape, you go there and you wait. So a lot of the time you wait for things to happen. And I think patience, yes, but I think, I don't know. So that's what my take would be.
Yeah, okay. When you get back from a shoot, are you straight into editing and getting the shot processed, or are you one to leave things and marinate for a while?
I'm going to say most of the time I would try to get it done ASAP. If it's something important like the aurora or something like natural disasters like fire and that sort of thing, that needs to be out. It's the same as the news. You need to be onto it straight away. I would like the aurora. I did try to get it out straight away because I know that there's going to be I already seen tons of pictures on it. Yep. So there's going to be tons more pictures out by the next morning. And I want to get my one out first. And I think I just know that you got something special because you know that no one's going to be out there at that time. So there's something unique about it that I think other people need to see. So I tried to push that out. But if I go to the zoo and I took 800 shots of the animals and I'm not going to be, it's just a picture that I want to have, then I won't work on it just yet. I probably sit a bit. But most of the time, it will be within a day or a day or the next morning to process the picture.
Yeah. And what does processing look like for you? Is it something that for a special image you're spending hours on it, or are you doing minimal editing and taking as little time as possible?
I usually gear my images up to be printed quite big.
Yeah.
So I believe that if you do it, you just do it once and then you don't need to go back. I always go back and work on it a little bit more. But most of the time I don't just do iPhone edit and that sort of thing, because that might look okay on the phone, but on the computer screen, it's not gonna cut it. And you're just basically butchering the file. So I know that I'm not doing that. So I would always, but I don't spend hours and hours on a certain image trying to dodge this and burn that. I would spend, depends on the image, but most of the time I would spend maybe somewhere around 10, 15 minutes per image. It's different levels. So you go, I import it into Lightroom first. No, I import it into Photo Mechanic. That's what I use to browse, and I color code them first. The crap one I delete, and I color code them first to different grades. And then so you're basically just coloring it. So you didn't select and you color the one that you didn't think was making the cut, and you just keep coloring until you get to final 10 maybe. And then I import that into Lightroom and I start editing it in Lightroom. And I think if it's okay in Lightroom, then that's it. That's it. I'm not doing anything else. If it's a lot of the Milky Way stuff require additional processing in Photoshop. So I would just take it into Photoshop and I will have a set things of what I do to the image. Like I would, after everything is done, in Lightroom, I would bring them out more details in the Milky Way, maybe boost the colors and then put a bit of blur and then put a bit of vignette. And that's about it. So I can get that done really quickly in a matter of 5 to 10 minutes. And if it's something bigger, then I will spend a bit more time like going into the details and doing the dodge and burn and stuff. But yeah, not much. So it's depend. But I'm not one of those people that pixel peep and try to get everything right. I think that's the downside of digital photography because everyone can zoom in so much now.
Yeah.
But the last few days since I posted that picture, I've got people asking, oh, how come you don't get star trail in your shot? And I said, I do get star trail, you just don't see it.
Yeah.
Because the picture is small. If you go and print it out, even because I print some of my stuff out quite big, it's always going to be a little bit of a star trail. But
when you go 30 seconds, there's 30 seconds worth of movement there in the
yes,
particularly on the edges.
Yeah, but it's only small, and I'd rather have more light in my images than just having a shorter star trail. And there's a lot of people saying that, oh, you don't get any movement. I say I do. You don't zoom in. If you have 45, 50 mega camera, you're going to go in and go, oh shit, I see a bit of movement.
Yeah.
Don't do that. just looking at it as it is, as a whole picture, and it's slight movement is fine. I think it's okay. And yeah, a lot of people, I don't know where they read it from, but I've got a few messages now from people saying that, oh, do I need a tracker to stop the movement? Yes, you can. For what you're doing with the Y field, you don't need a tracker. Just your equipment and you'll be fine. Like I get a little bit of movement, but it doesn't bother me.
Well, in particular now with AI, the noise reduction, you could actually do, say, or even maybe a 10-second at a much higher ISO.
Yes.
Depending on your gear, and get a much sharper, less star trail image, but with enough light to view a reasonable image, particularly if all you're doing is posting it on Instagram. If you, like yourself, if you're printing it, there's a different story. But yeah, the way that you can get rid of noise now, going maximum ISO isn't the problem that it used to be.
Yeah, no, the cameras are getting much better, and the noise reduction is also a lot better. But it still takes a long time to, like in Lightroom now, I think they call it AI noise reduction or something.
Yeah.
Click on each individual image, and then you have to, and then it spit out a DNG or something like that.
Yeah,
and
it creates a new DNG,
Yeah, if you're working on one image, that's fine. But I usually have about, I'm going to say at least 10 to 15 shots that I edit together.
Yeah.
Sometimes even more. If I was to do that for all my shots, then I'd be sitting there for a while.
Need a bigger, faster computer.
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, I've got a pretty fast computer now, but it's still
that denoise does take a little while. A pretty good machine. I think it's largely the upload download of the image from Adobe, because a lot of people don't realize what's actually happening. You can't use that function if you don't have an internet connection.
All right. Okay. Yep.
So what's actually happening is the files being up, they're using their AI processing in the cloud, in the Adobe cloud, and then reloading that image back down to you.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why it takes so long.
Yeah, it takes a long time. So I try to, like with Astro, you can't do much about noise, and noise is part of it. You need to control it a bit more with either stacking and using a tracker or whatnot. But it's also, I think at the end of the day, it comes down to how much data you want to pull out from that file. If you're just a straight shooter, you shoot it with JPEG and that's it. Like even with RAW and convert to JPEG, do a tiny bit of manipulation and that's it. That's fine. The noise is not going to come up. But for me, sometimes I don't want to be sitting out in the cold for longer than I need to. So I would do 30-second exposure rather than 4 minutes exposure. Then I would just bump it up like 2-stop or whatnot to get more details in it. And that's already bringing up the noise. And once you start doing sharpening and a bit of contrast and that sort of thing, lifting the shadows, then your noise comes up more. So I try to get it as clean as I can, but at the same time, like it's Astro image, it's going to be noisy. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. You mentioned printing. How do you go about prepping for printing? There's obviously a slightly different process looking at an image that's in print versus on a screen. You don't have the backlighting, so you've got to brighten things up.
Yes.
Is that all you're doing to an image for print, or are you doing other things?
No, that's probably about it. I make sure that it's something that usually, like I said, I gear the image up for print, but if someone wants to buy something, I would go and look at that in more details, and I would go in and looking at like pixel peeping and see if this detail looks right or not. Is this sharpening looks right or not? So I would go in and rework the image per se, and then as the final stage, I make everything a little bit brighter and make everything a little bit more saturated.
Yep.
And then and then a little bit more sharpening, depends on how big it's going to be, and that's about it. Usually brighter, more saturation, and a little bit sharper. Okay. Depends on where it's going to be printed and how big and that sort of thing. But
yeah. And are you using a print service, or are you doing your own?
I don't do my own. I got a printer, but like the big A2 Epson, but I don't. It's too expensive.
Yeah, it makes it interesting.
Yeah, and I think like the screen that I have and the color that comes out, it looks pretty good from and a lot of the time that I send it to print. Back in Port Fairy, one of my friends is a printer, so I send it to him. He's a photographer too, so he would go, okay, I look at the image and go, okay, that doesn't look quite right, so I'm going to change it a little bit for you, making it brighter or whatnot. So I've learned what I need to do to be able to print it out correctly. And most of the time when I send it to the other printers, it's about the same sort of thing. The gamma might be a little bit off, but not totally. So I think as long as you make it a little bit brighter, a bit more saturation, I think it's fine. Yeah. So I don't tend to print my own. I do something really large, I might just print an A4, just the particular section, just to see if that noise is acceptable in that print. But a lot of the time, I think printer is more forgiving than the screen.
Oh yeah, I totally.
Yeah, because a lot of people think that I'm going to get so much noise and that sort of thing that comes out. That's because you haven't printed out large.
That's right.
A lot of people say, this one won't work and that sort of thing. And it's like, it'll be fine. Like, I print so many prints that it looks noisy on my screen, but when it comes out, it looks totally acceptable. Totally fine. Looks even better than on my screen, actually.
Yeah. And
I think that's obviously you get printers you get machine that's much better than the others, but most of the time I think it's fine. Yeah. I even have, don't tell Canon this, but they printed out back when probably about a while ago, maybe 5 years ago, they asked for an image to print, and it was just shot with a 30 megapixel camera, like an EOS R, and I got it in the house. Actually, it's pretty sure it's like 2 meters tall, by wide, like bigger than almost life size, like massive. And I think the print itself, if they were to charge someone, it would have been easily $600. But with their specialized machine, because they ask for it and they hang it up in their showroom in Melbourne. And it was shot with just a normal camera, like nothing special, 30 megapixel, even shot with a Samyang lens, actually, not a Canon lens. So I think I told the lady that it was actually shot with a Samyang lens. That Samyang lens is like perfectly sharp. Yeah. And so I geared it up a little bit, sent it off as a JPEG to them, and they were like, can we have a TIFF file, please? I was like, why do you need a TIFF file? Like my process is that I go from RAW to a JPEG straight away. Yeah. I go from RAW, I edit the RAW, I extract everything that I need to into that JPEG. Like, there's no more to extract. Like no more shadow to lift, no more highlight to drop down. So I don't need to save it as a TIFF file just to clog up my computer. Yeah. So most of the time, it will either be RAW, I keep the RAW, I keep the JPEG, the edited JPEG. And sometimes if I have a file that I worked on a little bit, I might keep a layered Photoshop file. But for that particular shot, I only have a JPEG. And she's like, can we have a TIFF, please? I was like, I'm not going to go and process that picture again. So I convert JPEG into a TIFF, and then I gave it to them. Didn't know the difference. Yeah,
there is a slight compression when it goes to JPEG, but to be honest, if it depends on the image, depends on whether there's any color band or anything.
Yeah, I just make sure that there's no color band, and once you save it out, I think it was mostly fine, because I did try it. I want to know, I want to know how shitty is this JPEG's going to be. Like, so I basically have this picture, save it as a JPEG over and over again, and I had to get to maybe 50 times.
Yeah.
50 times until I can actually see a slight difference in the JPEG.
You start to get artifacts. Yeah,
but that's 50 times. You're never going to save your images over and over again 50 times. Like the maximum you might, if I don't want to do the RAW, I'm going to reprocess this picture. I don't think I even do 5, like maybe twice. That's about it. But twice, you're not going to see it. And I've done 50 save, and I'm like, I can't even tell. If I can't tell, I don't think anyone can tell. So that's my process.
Yeah, fantastic. Have you ever hit a creative wall? And if so, how did you handle it? Do you have any strategies to deal with those creative blocks that come along?
I think you just have to try something different. I think you're hitting that point is when you're doing something over and over again, the same thing. So I think you need to inject something new into it. Like say if I go out and do a nighttime photography and it's always going to the same spot, I'm getting the same shot, there's nothing exciting. I'm like, you can try a different spot, or you can try doing light painting, or just change totally. If you seek a landscape, go and do like water droplets. Yeah. New challenge. And that is a new challenge. And you're gonna want to try something different. And you've done that, then you go and learn something else, try something different. I think it does happen sometimes when you're bummed out and don't want to do anything. I think you're like the people that you have around you sort of help you as well. Instagram can be good and bad. You look at it and go, oh shit, I want to get that shot, but I can't. And then you might feel down about it, but then you go, if I have an opportunity, then I will be able to go and get that. So you're looking at it in a sense that there's so many places that you can be or go. You just have to get out and go. Try different places. That's what I would say. Try different things. Yeah, but don't do the same thing that you're doing over and over again. Sure that helps to make it perfect, but sometimes it's just bogging you down. And
I know what you mean. Yeah.
I think try something different. I think that's the key. Yeah. I think I get that block here because I know that the night sky is not as good. So I go out and go, it's better than in Sydney itself, but it's nothing compared to where I used to live. So I would only go out and experiment with things like maybe I try different lighting, or maybe I try different equipment, like it's tracker and that sort of stuff. So when I get that, I do go, okay, my shot's not going to be as good because I know that there's a better place to be. I'm just wasting my time here. Or you just try something different. Like you're not going to try to get award-winning pictures. You just try a different technique, working out, getting to know your equipment. That's what I usually sometimes do, like trying different things. I test out cameras and that sort of stuff as well. So I would just go out and just do experiment around here. But I think to get over that is looking at different technique to do things. I think that's trying different technique and trying something that you haven't done before. I think that's how we get over it.
Yeah, awesome. What do you see as photography's place in society?
For me, I think it's an outlet for people to be able to be creative about their work and that sort of thing. Just doing what they want to do, because there's no right or wrong. Sometimes there's a shitty picture, but there's a good one. So that's their thing. So if they want to do that, then that's fine. There's no right or wrong about it. So I think people can be creative and people can use that. For me, I use that to get away.
Yeah.
Go out and just be by yourself, or just looking at the stars and just be alone, basically. I think it's an outlet that way, and some people are using it for social gathering and that sort of stuff as well. There's a place for it. Yeah.
What about the biggest challenges facing photographers right now?
AI.
Yeah. A lot of people say that.
And I don't think it is, because AI is not, it's advanced, but if someone goes, I want this particular shot in a particular way, I can't do it. Doesn't matter. Not yet. That's right. I don't know. I don't go into the mid-journey and that sort of thing that people do. I'm only just using the Meta AI, that's Facebook thing.
Yeah.
The generated fill in Photoshop. And it's pretty smart. Like, it's unbelievable. It can do, like you can extend the image and go, you can't even tell if that was real or it was. It's very smart. But I think, but it can't get to the point where you can specify specific things. It's still going to look a bit AI. I think you can spend hours prompting it, or you could just try to get the shot yourself. Like sometimes I would go, I want a dish that looks like this, and I've spent hours trying to get it, and I was like, no, I'm not doing it. I'm just going to grab whatever I need and take a photo, and I can get it. I think, but in the future, yes, like you said, it's going to get better and better. But I don't know. I think probably AI, but I'm not sure. Like, I don't know. What are your thoughts on the challenge?
In terms of challenges, I think the oversaturation of the market, as someone that's trying to make some money out of photography, it's bloody hard. I see AI as a challenge to some areas of that, and I've talked about this on the podcast a couple of times, but there are marketing departments that are starting to use AI instead of using models. That they're not in that high end space. I think the high end photography space is still going to have a place for product and modeling and all fashion photography, that sort of thing. Where AI doesn't have a place is landscape, for one. Yes, AI landscapes, but they look like AI landscapes, as you said. They're not, you can tell. You can't necessarily tell if someone's used a bit of generative fill, but I'm ambivalent about that. But you can't do event photography or wedding photography with AI. You can't do real estate photography with AI, because what you have to do there is give a representation that this happened or this is what this place looks like. And so using AI to try and replicate that is impossible. So there are places where it plays a part. The issue is, in terms of trying to make money, particularly out of landscape photography, is it's bloody difficult because there aren't that many buyers compared to the number of photographers that are actually putting stuff out there. I think the market's out, and that's probably one of the biggest challenges. Aside from that, the biggest challenge, and it's not just to photography, but it's to humanity in general, is global warming and the fact that the world's not going to remain the same way forever. And unless we're doing more about that sort of thing, photography is going to go away because humanity is going to disappear. That's bringing the topic a little bit too far, I
think there is a lot of people that, I think it's the same with, you see it with photography before. Someone's always tried to undercut you or
giving stuff away for free. And I think organisations trying to use photographers' work for free, I don't think that's ever been as bad as it is now. The number of organisations that just think, oh, well, it's on Instagram, I can use it then and I've actually had a couple of people approach me, I want to use your image for this, and you go, okay, well, here's what it'll cost you. And I'm not talking unreasonable numbers of dollars to a large organisation, and I'm not naming any names here, but large organisations with plenty of money to pay for something that might cost them $1,000. We're not talking about hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands even. One image, depending on what it is that they want to use it for, right, might cost them as much as I can also say that I've also sold stuff for way less than that. Simply because the organisation that I'm dealing with doesn't have a budget which would stretch to $1,000.
Yeah.
And organisations, particularly the large corporates that are out there, or the the tourism bodies and those sorts of things, who have fairly well-funded organisations, trying to use photographers' work for nothing is that just grinds my gears. You can't understand it.
I think it's like you said, it depends on who they are and what they're going to be using it for. But a lot of the time, sharing it or using it on Facebook, I will let them get away with. But it's something that they're going to be printing or using it for advertising.
If they're using it in an advertising campaign, in a brochure, on a billboard or something like that, then the price has to be commensurate with what they're using it for.
But I wonder, if they don't choose your image, do they go to someone else and just try to grab it for free? I don't know.
Sometimes, yes.
Get away with it until someone bring it up.
Yeah.
I think the other challenge would be, I see it a lot actually, would be because there's a lot of people starting out as well, and a lot of people doing it for a while. And I think when you see the image on Instagram, a lot of the time it's unrealistic. I think a lot of people might just go, oh yeah, that looks good. Like it's the same with location or wherever you go, and it doesn't look like the picture they use. The color I've seen, like Sydney Harbour, the colors are blue. The harbour is never blue. How do you get blue?
I've seen it as grey, steely blue, but Never. It's not a
Never
Mediterranean blue.
even sort of blue, like
Ah, that's right. Yeah.
yeah, it just doesn't. And I think
Not
a
like
lot
the
of
Whit Sunday.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, never happened. And as a photographer, as like myself, I look and go, hey, that's bullshit. But it's a nice picture, but that's
Yeah.
bullshit. Someone who doesn't know might look at that and go, oh, that's so good. I'm going to try to go and get that. And I've seen a lot with like nighttime photography where the foreground is like brightly lit and the sky is nice. Yeah, it's a great picture, but it's unrealistic. No one's going to, as a nighttime photographer, I know that it's not possible for you to get that shot unless if you're doing two exposure. And
You're doing a time blend. Yeah. So you got a blue hour shot and a Milky Way.
yeah. And and if they're doing that, then is that a real representation of what it was there? It's yes and no. I do it sometimes, but I don't do the blue hour because I think that's just unrealistic. I would just go there at night and then do two shots to brighten it, and sometimes I might change the sky of the same thing, but making it a little bit better. But I would tell them that the sky is in place or this is not a real shot. I think a lot of new photographers starting out would finding it hard. Not even photographers, like any general public would look at it, okay, that's a great picture. And they just think it's great, but they don't know if that's real or not real. And I think that's bringing the expectation of photography up or down, how you want to look at it. Because the client might come to you and go, I want something like this. That's not possible. Unless you're doing something special to it, it's not possible. And I think that's going to be the challenge for the future. What's real and what's not real. I think I do it myself because I want to produce art, not sometimes I don't want a real picture, but it's still going to have to be relatable and
the difference is being transparent about it and saying, hey, this is a composite or this is a blend, a time blend or whatever. And, I do a lot of exposure blending myself, largely to just getting the tonal range, blowing out the highlights or having black shadows that you can't see anything in. Just trying to approximate what the eye can see as closely as possible.
Yeah. In saying that, like the iPhone probably take better dynamic range picture than
Absolutely.
You look at an iPhone and go, oh, shit, you don't need the camera anymore. That looks really good. And sometimes I see a lot, actually, the client would go, this is my phone shot. I can get this, but how come you can't get it with your expensive camera? I can, but I got to it's the algorithm in your phone and making it look like that. It's not going to be big because it's bodged it, but I can get that, but I just need a bit more processing until a camera is smart enough to be able to do what iPhone can. Then
the iPhone's just been given an algorithm, as you said, that does the exposure blending for it.
Yes, automatically, and it does a really good job at it. But I think it's like the other challenge as well is the phone is so good these days that most of the time you can just use the phone, and if it's only going to be small print, no one's going to know.
That's it.
No one's going to be able to tell the difference, and that's coming out straight up good. I've seen some astro pictures that's like, oh wow, that's taking with a phone. Yeah, that's pretty good, but it's still not at that stage where you can print an A2 size or an A1 size. No, just yet. But I think. But
I think at the moment we're hitting some physical limits with the size of the sensors and the ability. It might be a 30 or 40 megapixel sensor on your phone, but having a sensor which is 2 by 3 centimeters is not the same as having one which is by 8 centimeters or whatever.
Yeah. But I think that's the other challenge. People see it with the phone and go, okay, can you do that with your camera? I say I can, but it's going to take a bit more.
Maybe 20, 30 years we'll see cameras in phones that are they're using sensors that are equivalent to what's in a mirrorless SLR.
Yeah. Like I've done a lot of 360 stuff with the little sort of action cameras, 360. And in the last 5 years, the advancement in that is mind-blowing, like what it can do. I wouldn't recommend using a 360 cameras maybe 5 years ago, but now I go with my 360 all the time not as a backup, but as a time-lapse sort of piece. Yeah. So I just sit it on a tripod, put it up there, set it to run, and I just do time-lapse and just keep going and going. And then at the end, you have your main camera taking pictures, and then you also have that as a time-lapse sort of time capsule of what you've done, how everything's moving. So it is great, and the quality is, you can't fault it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm actually doing a 360 video now, just editing this morning. I'm going to try to put it out today.
Okay.
When I went up. Yeah.
Look forward to seeing it.
Okay.
What's the best or worst piece of advice anyone's given you?
Ooh, I'm not sure actually. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I have a good or bad advice, but I don't think so. I think going back to what you said before, how do you measure success?
Yeah.
It's when it hates you. That's when you know that you're successful. I think that's pretty accurate. When someone hates you enough, not in a bad way, just like backing you out, or you post something and then they go, oh, okay, that's crap picture or whatever. I think, you hit a point where there's enough people hating you, then you know that you're doing okay.
Yeah.
I think, but in terms of bad advice, I don't think there's anything really bad. No one's even ever given me bad advice or good. I don't know. They're all pretty, like a group of friends that I have are all pretty encouraging, and they do say they try to motivate you and that sort of thing. So I don't think there's a good and bad. Like going back to the snow shot that I got after actually talking to one of my friends, and because I didn't really want to go up because I didn't want to spend that long up there. And he was like, "Oh, just man up and just go. You have an opportunity, just freaking go." And I was like, "Okay." He pushed me a little bit in the sense that I've got a perfect spot. If this will be a time to capture the aurora with the snow, and you get to go in the snow cap to go up there, you don't have to walk. You don't have to walk down, walk back up. Mm-hmm. This is it. Like you got to go, and you just he nudged it a little bit, and I go, I wanted to, but then at the same time, I don't want to. He's sort of nudge, and then it's just people that you have, and I think I wouldn't call it bad or good advice, but I think something that motivates you is when you talk to a photographer and they're not holding information back. They encourage you. I do the same thing. If someone, like I said before, if someone wants to know where this location is, I would obviously I look at the photographer first. If they're like Instagrammer and just going to go and trample over everything that's there, because most of the time it's sensitive to the area, then I will try to steer them away from it. But if there's someone that I know that reasonably okay and respect the environment, then I would just happily tell them this is where you need to go. You just need to be careful with this. If you can get there, good. If you need more information, I think it's just the people that are around you. But sometimes you ask someone and they don't want to give you that information. Oh, I want to keep this location for me for the time being. Okay, that's fine. I respect that, but there's other ways to find out. So you're just being a dick by not telling me where it is. But that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. It just depends on who it is that's asking and how they've asked as well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Are there any other photographers that you think I should be talking to on the podcast?
There's just a lot. Depends on what is it that you're after. I know a lot of astrophotography. I know a lot of...
Yep, Astro is good.
Okay, yeah. There's a few names that I'll send you the message, because most of them are in Melbourne or in Victoria, because that's where I know a lot of them. Mm-hmm. And I think Sydney's crowd is a little bit different, because I think Sydney is more... There's some good one, but a lot of the time they tend to keep to themselves.
Yeah.
I don't know, for me anyway, like where we used to be, it is more open. We go out together as a group. Right. In Sydney, sure, everyone's life is busier maybe, and they try to tee up the time to go out. It's harder, and no one wants to go out together. Maybe they'd be more cautious in Sydney, which is understandable. Whereas before, I was in the country.
You just go.
Camera, you just go with someone. You know, but in Sydney, maybe it's a bit more cautious in who you meet and that sort of stuff. So I can understand that too. But yeah, I find that in Melbourne or in Victoria, they're more open, and that's where I meet a lot of I know a lot of good photographers down there. Sydney, not so much. So I'll find someone for you. Yeah.
No worries. Thank you. Got one more question for you, and for a lot of people, it's the most important question I ask. Do you like pineapple on pizza?
I do.
Excellent.
Do you?
Yeah, I don't mind it. I don't order it, but if it's on there, I won't pick it off. It's
okay. Fine. I do. I don't mind pineapple on pizza. Yeah, we sell pineapple fried rice, so there's pineapple in the fried rice.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, it's wonderful spending some time with you today, Oat. Thank you for giving us an insight into some of your work and how you think. Where can people find your work?
We'll be on Instagram or Facebook, Hanging Pixel Photo Art. Usually, there's a website, but most of the time when I post something, it will be on either my Facebook page or on the Instagram page.
All right. Brilliant. Thank you very much, mate.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Thanks for having me.
Cheers.
Cheers. Bye.
Thanks again for listening to Landscape Photography World. I hope you enjoyed the show, and keep listening because I'll be joined by some great guests in upcoming episodes. You can find my work in this podcast at grantswinburnphotography.com, along with prints, photography gear, and also my calendars, which are on sale now. I'm also on Vero, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. I'm Grant Swinburne. Hope to see you out shooting soon.